What is going on, everybody? So, welcome to episode 37 of the It's From Me podcast. I mean, damn, almost 40 episodes of this show, but we do have a special guest backstage before we bring our special guest. We have a lot of some good, interesting stuff to talk about. I know you should recaps and stuff with that. But before we get into it, if you guys are new, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's bring our guest, Lady Kenzie. What is good?
What's up?
All right, so let me get my tablet open. It's so obviously the first thing I will kind of talk about is obviously our typical recaps from SmackDown, Raw, AEW, Dynamite, and NXT. First thing we did for SmackDown. Obviously we had Rey Mysterio taking on Karrion Kross. And then Mysterio picks up the win, and this rivalry was kind of interesting. So, kind of get you guys' thoughts on that.
Well, I'm actually going to say this right now. What is up with Karrion Kross and Scarlett? Because every time they came out for like weeks, the crowd's been dead, completely dead. You hear a pin drop.
Mm-hmm.
What's not working with this character? It's a great character. I just don't get it. Secondly, tremendous match. The feud, I don't think anybody even cares for it, to be honest. But it's a shame because both are tremendous competitors. They bring a lot to the table, and I don't know, man. Like, it's just like Karrion's just not over, and I don't get it.
Yeah,
none of Scarlett's over. None of them's over.
That's crazy.
But
Lady Kenzie, your thoughts on that?
I don't really care for the food and stuff.
I think we all we're in agreement here that the feud is, like we said, it's not really working. Because on paper, I thought this feud would be great on paper, but it's like we said, it's very undelivering. But the next thing we want to go on to is Austin Theory with this promo segment, which is basically the and just doing his great character.
Are they really teasing an MVP face turn with this?
It's looking like that.
It looks like they're teasing an MVP face turn, but he's still managing a heel in Omos. What are they gonna do with him? Because they're teasing this face turn with MVP. They have Omos as a heel who he's managing and still does heel stuff with. It makes no sense to me. But if they're teasing a face turn, you have to turn Omos face. I don't know if people want that because he's not over as a heel to begin with. He's got legitimate go away heat. Get off my TV heat. He does not have heel heat. And turning him face will not work for his career because of that go away heat. Get off my TV. It's not gonna work. But Bobby's over as a face. Cedric's over as a face. Shelton's over as a face.
Yeah.
So it could work there, but where do you fit Omos in this? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know who's right because if you can, I don't know. If you see, like you said, with MVP, first of all, I think I mean, for the love of God, fingers crossed, hope he's not a face turn because I think Austin Theory can learn a lot from MVP, and let's be real, who knows how of the superstardom that Austin Theory has. So like I said, we'll see that if it happens or not. So like you said with Omos, I think like we all can agree. What's good, Rafi? But like I said, it's really kind of hard to take this into consideration. The fact that, let's be real, first of all, Omos should be here to begin with. I think we can all agree get that off.
He's like what Earl says on his show. He's green as goose crap.
Yeah,
that's what he is. He's just too green. He's too green in the ring. He can't speak. He can't. He's very limited on the mic because English isn't his first language because he's with a different country. He's from a different country, which is fine. I don't care about that. All right, I don't care. But the wrestling skills, terrible, terrible. He's immobile. He can't move fast. He can't wrestle.
I agree.
He's got one slam that looks good. That's it. One slam. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah,
Got one good-looking slam. Huh, cool. But
But-
everything else, I'm going to exclude the promos because he's from a different country. English is not his first language.
And I think
Fine.
also this is why you have MVP as a mouthpiece to begin with. So, I mean...
Yeah, because they get he's not English is not his first language, so they gave him a mouthpiece, which is fine, cool.
But if we just had a lot more time, and this is the thing too, like if you could have had a lot more time to develop outside of the company, I think we can be in a whole different conversation in its entirety.
I feel like he should have stayed in the performance center for a little bit longer.
Yeah, because
he's not good in the ring. He's got that one good-looking slam, which tells me he did learn something, but you need to learn a little bit more to hone his craft.
It's just like
he could be a good man if he wanted to.
Exactly.
But it's just not working for him because he doesn't move fast in the ring because of his size. And we're doing and
NXT
Mick, we are doing
Day.
NXT this Saturday. We're doing we're doing what was it? Vengeance Day. Yeah, we're doing Vengeance Day this weekend. So we are doing that. He finally figured out a way. I'm trying to. My camera's inverted, so I'm pointing this way. You're over here.
That's the. But that's besides the point. It's just.
But yeah, he has time off this Saturday, so we're doing it. And NXT has been solid.
It
has.
It's crazy too, especially as February is Black History Month. Did anybody like this? Is one thing I didn't know. Sol Ruca is biracial. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I kind of picked up on it.
And so it seems Kiana. Well, Kiana James
got a little bit of a. I'm like she's kind of giving me mixed race vibes.
And so does Kiana James. And
Kiana, not to be funny, but she's got kind of like the mixed race vibes. Did his thing come up?
I think Lady Kenzie got cut out. Apparently
he's kind of giving me like mixed race vibes, or she's kind of giving me mixed race vibes.
And even telling me, but we'll get to NXT. We'll probably start around like 7:30, 7:45, kind of go over looking what the card's looking like. Yeah, nobody did. And same with Kiana James.
But here's the thing, though. Kiana James, that I can't tell. I can't tell Kiana.
It's like, I don't know if you
can tell a little bit with Sol Ruca, the way she, like, you know, the cocky brassness and like, you know. Did you get timed out?
No, I think it's just it was probably the connection.
Yeah,
the connection went.
But yeah, so but like I said, you know, but yeah, I mean Kiana James does have part African American, so she's also
knew that. I thought she was just naturally tan.
No, but apparently that's that's a little something for you that we didn't know.
I can now see that. That country boy loved him some Kiana James.
Oh yeah!
Dude, I remember when she first hit on him and he was shaking. He was like, "Oh god, oh god."
But we'll get to NXT in just a second because there was one segment in particular. NXT was very interesting to say the least backstage with Kiana James. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But going further down,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right now. That country boy. To that country boy, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
Yeah, but the next match we had on the card, we had Lacey Evans taking on Jasmine Lord. We all know that's a jobber. You know, that's kind of self-explanatory. Like
I kind of find her finisher kind of interesting. It's a new finisher.
It's been a lock thing. It's called the Cobra Clutch. The last time the person ever used that. And that was
we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Give us some time. Give us some time. We'll get there.
Yeah, because we have two other shows to cover. But
we got NXT, and then we'll do Dynamite. Don't worry.
This Dynamite was very interesting this week.
Dude, let me tell you, Nate TKO. Let me tell you. The first time I freaking laid eyes on her on NXT, crushing immediately.
Because and going back to like you said to this too, look at the difference of the women's divisions on both NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Who's got the better women's division?
It's anemic. It's so anemic on the main roster, but you have NXT who's loaded.
So Ruth, the up and coming star. You got Kiana James, who's a star in her making.
But literally, Rob, none of the main roster stars in that women's division can get over. But every single woman on NXT has gotten over.
Yeah, and you can see.
Even you have the annoying drinks 15 coffees an episode. I can already tell
Hale. Oh my goodness.
Thea Hale, she drinks like 15 coffees a day. You can't tell me different. She drinks 15 coffees. But because of how hyper she is.
But it's like, it's just like women's wrestling's a lot different in NXT. Yes, I know people like and some people do have sometimes an argument like it's like and if you looked back to the Royal Rumble, Zoe Stark got a pop when she get one of the Royal Rumble. So did Roxanne Perez.
Zoe Stark, dude, we will get there, man.
Well,
Rampage we ain't doing.
Oh, because Rampage has been god awful. I'm
Rampage
sorry,
is awful since episode 1.
Like first of all, that was
SmackDown will do.
Oh, that sure. Well, yeah, we're doing actually, but it was just. Yeesh.
But dude, let me tell you something. You had Zoe Stark get a pop. You had
Roxanne Perez get a pop.
Roxanne Perez get a huge pop. Then you had Indy Hartwell get a pop.
But
none of the main roster stars even got a pop. None of them.
And that's very concerning.
Except for maybe, I don't know.
Barely
what
anybody.
One from the main roster got a pop? That's my question.
It could be anybody at that point.
I don't think anybody got a pop there.
No, I don't think so. So it's bad that your main women on the main roster cannot get a pop, but yet you have 3 NXT superstars in that women's division get a pop in the Royal Rumble. Yeah, that's terrible. That is very terrible. But going further, like I said, Lacey Evans wins by submission through the cover clutch. And then we get to the tag team match. I think it's split 50-50 that we really didn't care for, but it was good to see Braun Strowman and Ricochet hit the crap out of Shit Row, basically. Even though they do pick up the win. But yeah, it's just Hit Row, like we said, she's never been
Hit Row botches way too much. That's the problem, and they're not, and their character work is terrible without Swerve being there.
And Swerve has been killing it since going to AEW. If you think about it,
Swerve's been going crazy in NXT, going crazy.
And I bet WWE's kind of punching themselves for letting him walk. Because think about it. If Shane didn't leave, you got stars right there with Top Dollar, B-Fab, Shane, and Adonis. But like we said, if you don't have that,
not a star. B-Fab is definitely not a star.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
definitely not a star. For how much he botches, and also Top Dollar.
Please,
he can be a star, but the problem is that one botch just.
He will never let that down.
He ain't gonna ever let that down.
But Braun, it's crazy too, and I'm really digging the tag team between Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I'm really liking their tag team work together, which is kind of unusual to pair them. But obviously, Braun and Ricochet, they will advance to the finals to the tag team tournament, and that will lead us to the next tag team match later in the show. That will also determine who's going to go to the finals. But then we get to a little bit of a promo segment with LA Knight. And you can't tell me otherwise who is great on the mic outside of that. LA Knight still talking. I think this is like this is what, before the Royal Rumble, if I'm not mistaken. This was
before, yeah. This was last week's.
So this was so LA pretty much, like I said, doing his own thing. If I'm not mistaken too, it's all about playing the ultimate mind games. Pulling off the Eater of Worlds, and I was like, what?
He had a lantern that was like this big.
I was like, man, that's just like, LA Knight, man, I love you, man, but damn. But yeah, and it's just like this will stem back from like the last handful of weeks between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt. And let's be real, let's just be real, the pitch black match was not say DOA,
Oh,
but
dear
could have been a
God.
lot.
It
Could have been a lot,
wasn't pitch black. It was just a neon light match.
but
That's all that was.
that was just
A
very
neon
misleading.
light match sponsored by Mountain Dew. That's all it was.
And then you had Uncle Howdy miss an elbow drop on LA Knights. Like, what the hell? Not a great look. But and then Bray Wyatt had, I think he took issue with doing his promo, and you got two, if not the best on the mic in the company. They've been duking it out on the mic. But yeah, and that was kind of the end of it. And like I said, going to the next tag team match, two teams. It was very hard to choose like who was going to win between Legado del Fantasma or for taking on Imperium. Winner goes to face Braun and Ricochet in the finals. It's like, damn it! Like, why do you have to? It's like, who do we choose here? But
it's hard. It's hard to choose, man. I feel like both teams are tremendous teams. They're both over. The only complaint that I had. Why did they push it to SmackDown this week instead of being on Royal Rumble?
That's what I was just thinking the same.
That concert, that little concert that they had, which I'm sorry, usually Hardy is better than this, but he sucked. He was trash. At Royal Rumble, he was trash.
And that's yeah.
They could have bumped him off. They could have bumped him off and put that match on the card.
Exactly.
But no, let's put a stupid concert that only had one song, which was the theme song of Royal Rumble.
If I'm not mistaken, dude, that entire pay-per-view was over 6 hours long, and that's a bit of an issue.
Here's the thing. It couldn't have been. It would have been less than that if the concert didn't happen.
Exactly. Not to mention you have to rebuild the ring for the next match coming up. It's like
it was 30. It was like 30 minutes to take down all the stuff for the little concert they had, and then 30 minutes to bring it up, to put the ropes back on. Turnbuckle pat, all that stuff back on.
Yeah,
tighten it up.
It was just
tighten up the ropes. And it took 30 minutes to do it. And then it took time off of that. Now you have the main event, which is already going to be long because it's the main event for a world title. Yeah, it's going to be a long main event.
We'll talk about the Royal Rumble in just a minute because man, this has been,
I have to ease up on the ranting.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but obviously, really good match for both teams. But Imperium does pick up the wins, and now will face Braun Strowman and Ricochet for the finals to take on to determine the number one contender for the Usos tag team titles. And that leads us to our main event, which is like we said, this is before still during the Bloodline storyline. Kevin Owens still becomes sticking his nose where the Bloodline does not like it. Taking on Solo Sikoa. I surprised that Sikoa wins Sikoa wins. Unfortunately, we get some Sami Zayn who comes in, defies the orders of Roman Reigns. So that should tell you, number one, where we'll get into
it kind of foreshadowed it, but it also didn't because I didn't expect what happened on Sunday or Saturday to happen. Because I expect it to go completely different. I expect it to turn to happen, but I expect it to be completely different than what happened. We'll get to that. What happened?
Oh yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, and and what's good, Sleeping Angels? What's good,
up, Sleeping Angels? How you doing, brother?
And going to the main event of Royal Rumble, you can't tell me otherwise because pretty much that main event saved the entire show. If I'm going to be completely honest,
the show was getting dragged down in that back half by poor booking and that concert that shouldn't have happened and all the other stuff. It was just getting dragged down, and then that main event happened. The ending happened. And we're sitting there saying, Sammy needs an Emmy, Roman needs an Emmy, the Usos need an Emmy.
Everybody needs an Emmy because
everybody needs an Emmy on that.
It's just like I'm thinking to myself after the match over. It's just like, damn it, when's this turn happening? Damn it! And I mean, probably
And
the
we were like,
greatest.
and everybody was, and Earl and everybody else was saying, "Look at Sammy. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? The turn's about to happen. The turn's about to happen. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?" After this, little did we know, we were foreshadowing the Sammy turn.
Exactly, and we've actually, and this is before the Royal Rumble too. We actually kind of made a predict because this was like a bit of a interesting topic of conversation. I think during one of our watch longs, if I'm not mistaken, like we all kind of predicted like when the turn's going to happen. I think I said the Rumble. I think me and Tyler said the Rumble. A couple other people said the Mania, but
No, no, no. Nobody said Mania. No one said Mania.
I think
They
we
were
said,
thinking. They were thinking. They were thinking. This is going to drag on to the next pay-per-view after this, and this is going to be Elimination Chamber. It's going to happen at Elimination Chamber during a chamber match, which
but
it didn't happen that way.
I mean,
We were right in the end.
I'll say this too. Towards the ending, it seems like that chair shot to the back that Roman took gave him like PTSD of, let's be real, when the Shield broke up. The exact same.
He sold it the exact same way. The exact same thing happened with him stepping forward, Sammy stepping back. Like he stepped forward, Seth stepped back.
And it, obviously two different turns, but the exact same result, regardless.
Yeah. Now the first turn was a heel turn. This one was a face turn.
And
yet you kind of spoiled what happened. I was going to not say anything until the Rumble thingy, but you said it. Sammy hit him with the chair. Okay, people.
But I will say, what, especially part of that ending, though, what I found really interesting, Jey Uso walks away from the bloodline.
Bro. The person, and this is what I think was a work of genius. Let's just go to the Rumble right now. Let's go to the main event right now. We'll talk about it. This was genius writing, because remember, in the beginning of the storyline, Jey absolutely despised Sammy. Despised him.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, this was character development right here. Character development.
Absolutely.
And now Jey respects Sammy. Didn't want to hurt Sammy on Sunday night or Saturday night. Didn't want to hurt Sammy while Jimmy was beating him down. Solo was beating him down. Roman was beating him down. Hit him with a chair multiple times.
It was just.
It was
phenomenal.
I'm telling you. This whole thing, this whole story.
Dude, it was
give them a goddamn. Give them a damn
by WWE creative.
Give him Oscars for all I care. Give him the Academy Award.
It's like, and you could hear, and before that turn, the face turn, you could see the entire 50,000 plus in San Antonio get behind Sammy. I was like, damn, like we said, this was going to hurt.
As soon as he hit him with the chair, the crowd erupted.
I mean, you
like, oh my god!
I was like, and you see Paul Heyman was shocked, like the Usos were pissed. And well, we don't know that Solo is constantly pissed off out of the way, so I mean that's just kind of given. But
Solo always looks like he's pissed off. So I don't know if he was really pissed off or not.
But once it's but and also too, we'll get to something this too because this was something interesting that I've seen. But like I said, we'll get to it as well because that's one of the topics I have is the because we have some superstars that are leading so much in merch sales since after the Royal Rumble, but we'll get to that later in the show. But now we move on to Monday Night Raw. Well, where do I begin with this one? Well, obviously to start off, we did get a promo segment by Cody Rhodes, but I think probably the best one he's cut since coming back. Well, since let's be real, him and Gun, I'm gonna give Gunther a lot of fucking credit though. I mean, him and Cody Rhodes, I think that's the best match I've seen those two put on at the Royal Rumble, even though they were the final two competitors. Yes. But Rhodes, basically kind of saying, he's looking forward to dethrone, and I think that, and paraphrasing a little bit, but part of it, he says he's looking forward to dethroning Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and that's another thing. That was another bit of a topic of discussion, which has been, I don't say been circling, but it's been kind of lodged into a lot of wrestling fans' minds that Cody Rhodes there's been some speculation that Cody Rhodes might pull out the wing, return the winged eagle design, and that's going to be interesting. Where that's going to go, but I think Cody Rhodes, and this also stems to the fact that leads us I'm not mistaken, too, they also had an all-out brawl to follow afterwards. And it's just like, and I think it was, goddamn, who was it? I can't remember the teams, but that led up to, I don't think, who was the team? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank from that Monday Night Raw. But that leads us to our first match on the card. Seth Rollins taking on Chad Gable. And I know, actually, this match was pretty good in its own right. But like we said, no, with Chad Gable, it's just like such great talent, but just cannot do nothing with. And it's sad because you have two great stars. I want to see Chad Gable as a star, but you couldn't. That's right. Thank you, Stephen H. Edge in the Judgment Day, and and Cody Rhodes kind of got involved. Kind of.
It wasn't Edge in the Judgment Day.
No, the judge
was it Edge in the Judgment Day.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. And then there's been a picture circulating with we'll talk about the non PG with her and Beth Phoenix.
He replied to that. He goes, "That's why they call me the Red Hour Superstar, y'all." I was like, that's freaking savage, bro.
I mean, the dude just can, and we'll get to another particular member in the because there's another that other promo segment with was going to be interesting because I think a lot of people are not really much talking about this particular individual, but we'll get to that. Obviously, Seth Rollins 2 picks with the win over Chad Gable. Probably the best match to start off Monday Night Raw after a great promo segment by Cody. And you have Seth Rollins and Chad Gable duking it out. And obviously, Rollins picks up the victory. And then we get to the one stinker on the match on this card that no one really gives a two flying fucks about. Basically, Candice LeRae, the Poison Pixie, taking on Io Sky. And
it's sad. It is sad. Because that match was really, really good. Really good.
Just
Candice
can't get over.
Here's what I think the problem is. And this is what me, Jeffy, and Earl had said. Can be conclusion to. That Poison Pixie character only works when Candice is a heel, not a face. Doesn't really work as a baby face.
Yeah.
It's better as a heel. Her with the spoiler, her character is too smiley for that character as a babyface. Smiling, saying hi to the crowd. This whole Poison Pixie thing should be a heel character, not a face.
It screams. Yeah, it screams like a heel character to me. Yeah, and
that's another problem too. They didn't build them up because guess what? Were there vignettes held for these people that were re-signed this past year? No. Candice, she just got thrown on TV. Io Sky, just thrown on a pay-per-view, along with Bailey and Dakota Kai, who's also another one that didn't get over because she got thrown into the mix.
And
got the initial pop. Yeah, they got the initial pop.
But after that, it's just been DOA.
No one cared.
And then
they didn't build up their characters at all. I think this is this person. Just cheer for him.
And I think this is also a thing too. And Chris Jericho actually pointed this out too. And I think he spoke in one review. Yeah, that's the biggest issue nowadays. Like the most wrestling companies do not care for. The WWE has not done vignettes in 5-10 years in the before, and it's like you've seen these other companies,
and that's the same problem with AEW too. Even Impact, every company.
Yeah,
has stopped doing vignettes, and now no one cares about these wrestlers because you don't make the people care. That's the problem. These wrestling companies don't make the people care.
But obviously, Io Sky does pick up the win over Candice LeRae. So if you looked at her stream, all of us we were relieved to finally get that match off our screen. But going on, we had another promo segment, but this time from Rhea Ripley. So we've all talked. I think me, Tyler, Jeff, and Earl. We all talked about
Here's what I don't get. Here's what I don't get about this promo segment. Why are people mad that she's not going after Bianca but going after Charlotte? Here's the thing. Here's the thing with this. Her and Bianca don't have a story there. Her and Charlotte, they have a story there.
Yeah.
Because remember, the story is 3 years prior to this year, she got screwed out of the NXT title at WrestleMania.
And
And
yeah,
now she wants revenge.
and,
And
and,
you can't
and
depend. And you can't just depend on. And that's right with the women's division. You can't just depend on the horsewomen. You have to start building the women's division up. Yeah, you got to.
exactly.
And that's the problem with that. But back to the Rhea Ripley thing. There's a story there with her and Charlotte. There's not a story there with her and Bianca at all. I don't even think they even faced each other on the main roster yet.
I think no, they haven't. I don't think so.
Now in NXT they have, but on the main roster, no.
Yeah, because remember that Rhea and Bayley faced off each other for the Raw Women's title, and she took the belt off of Bayley at the time. But yeah, it's like, and yeah, and if you looked at behind Rhea's promo, like she is livid. Yeah, you can know inside that she's already this has been eating her up for the last 3 years. And and go back to what you said too. When she got screwed from that NXT Women's title, she has never recovered ever since that. Since getting repackaged to the Judgment Day.
Her momentum went down.
Yeah, and it's sad
until Edge put her in Judgment Day, she got over, and she really got over with her and Dom's dynamic.
And
as this on-screen couple, but I don't even know if they're a couple. I think. I don't know. I don't know if they're a couple. I don't know if it's just. It's pretty hard. I don't know what's going on with that.
But and this is why I think, and because I think Jeff called this too. I think Jeff says she might see Rhea take on Charlotte, which does make sense because out of the competitors, she never has a story with Roxanne, even though Roxanne is much newer in the NXT. Like Tyler said, no story with Bianca. Could it be a potential? There could be a story there. Yeah, you could probably build a story around that. Sure, but which makes Charlotte, which just makes like we all said.
To me, there's more of an in-depth story with her and Bianca to be just cookie cutter. I'm coming after your title, blah blah blah. Match. But I think with Charlotte, you screwed me 3 years ago, so I need revenge.
Yeah.
That's the story. It's more in depth than just I'm taking your title,
and it's personal to her, and it's personal to, and which make more sense. Like I say, if you don't just throw her with and Roxanne's got to do her own title defense, but which we'll get to later on for NXT. But after that, then we cut to Seth Rollins doing his antics backstage with who's the backstage? It's not Byron. It's who the hell? Oh, Kathy Kelly. That's her freaking name. Why do I always keep forgetting her goddamn name for some reason? But that's besides the point. But Seth Rollins, you can't tell me, as long as this man has been to the company, you can't tell me this is the over he has been in quite some time with this, I guess, what you say, the visionary character, I would say, or some sort of variation of it. But this is like I said, and going to the next match on the card, another card or match that nobody cared for. Johnny Gargano taking on Baron Corbin. Gargano picks the win. Like no one really cared for much. Like I said, no one really cared for it. And then the Miz comes out. I think he did his promo, and then we see WWE official Adam Pearce. He was kind of talking some stuff and introduces a new member to the Raw roster, and that's Mr. Rick Boogs. And yeah, but Rick Boogs, man, it's really kind of hard. Rick Boogs, if you can hate him, that's honestly, I really don't hate Rick Boogs at all.
He's a lovable character. I mean, he was lovable when he was Shinsuke as a tag team.
And knowing that
Shinsuke, I think last year.
Yeah, before he blew out his knee, which was very unfortunate for him.
Boy, he shouldn't have tried to pick up Otis.
Yeah, that was and that leads us to like a quick impromptu match. Rick Boogs taking on Miz. The fact that Adam Pearce had to make the Miz, and Miz was like, I was like, I'm not ready for that.
Boog,
and a suit, and just like, and obviously Rick Boogs picks up the win. But since coming back from that knee injury, though, I thought even though it was, and I think we'll agree at this point, the Miz, I think, has done so much. What, for over a decade now?
Yeah, I think it's time for him to start putting over talent.
And I think,
I feel like the Reed thinks it's now time for him to put over talent.
I mean,
and I know some fans are gonna hate it. They hated it when Jeff Hardy was trying to put over talent, and
Jeff Hardy
and AJ was put over talent for some time. They're older. They've had a really long career anyway, so it's time for them to pay their dues
and build up new stars.
Build up the new stars, and I feel like in that match, Miz put over Rick Boogs very well.
Because I mean, Rick Boogs, I mean, since coming back though, he's got some superstar written all over him. It's just going to take some time to build him up. Even though I do like it, just the charisma on him is just phenomenal.
Crazy, yeah. What's up, Chad?
Chad? But we go to the next promo segment, and this was personal, which was interesting of how these between Becky Lynch and Bayley. But the fact that Bayley, you have made a huge mistake going low on Becky Lynch. You do not do that.
She was like, the only reason why Seth's with you because he knocked you. I'm like, oh my
I was like, no, she does not just go there.
There's certain
ways and you know that, and you can see how pissed off Becky Lynch really was.
Becky and the fact was like, you went there. You really went personal with this.
And it's like, it pissed her off to the point where it's like she was going to snap Dakota Kai's leg in a chair.
Yeah. And she literally power walked to the back. Hold on, I got something for you. Pulls out Dakota Kai by her other leg while the other leg is
trapped
pinned into a chair.
And it's like...
And then she pulls out, I think, Io.
No.
Io got banged up too.
Yeah. And then and she almost gave a concerto to Dakota Kai, and that forced Becky or Bayley to say, because basically Becky Lynch accused her of screwing her out of that steel cage match in Philadelphia on the Raw 30th, which that kind of stemmed from that.
No, she didn't say she screwed her over. She said she screwed she screwed the fans over.
Yeah, and
you screwed the fans off of that match.
And we're going to get that in Orlando. This is going to be... So Becky and Bayley are going to end this once and for all in Orlando, where it began. For those who don't know, when they came up from NXT, they were part of that women's revolution. I think in 2000... Was it 2014?
It was 2014, 15, yeah.
Yeah, this is deeply personal for... And the fact that, Bayley said, by Becky Lynch's real name, with Rebecca, it's like, ugh, it's like you're really crossing lines you're not going to come back from.
Yeah, good on Triple H for that, because he saw Vince would have said
just let it be.
We're not having a match. Screw you guys. But
I think
Triple H said, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'm gonna put the cage match back on.
Yeah, in Orlando, Florida. So, and this takes us to our next match on the card. And as much as I know Dolph Ziggler, and he's another guy is the same category as the Miz, and I think people will tend to forget during his time as the Mikey from the Spirit Squad. That was
Mikey.
I was like, oh, when I looked at that, it's like, are you that like? I could imagine how
the whole cheerleading gimmick was so bad, but it got over. And they were like tag team champions at one point because it got over.
That was just great. I think it was him and Kenny, if I'm not mistaken, too, that held the belts, if I'm not mistaken. But
it was Kenny and Mikey that held the belts. Him and Kenny. Oh,
that was crazy. But and Dolph Ziggler, like I said, another guy that's
then they got a poop shower by DX.
Oh, I forgot about them and DX. It was a great bit of a rivalry.
That was a great rivalry, for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But ever since in the fact that I'll say, damn.
Dude, but let me tell you something, Rob. Let me tell you something. Poop shower. The poop shower thing was funny.
Or
you see them flailing around, sliding on the.
That's like, man, it was just cringy acting at its best in the was it 2004?
And then after the Spear Squad, they made him team up with Chavo in that racist gimmick.
Oh God, with
Pearl
the
and White.
oh
Dear God,
yeah.
that was bad.
First of all, the fact he had Chavo Guerrero. First of all,
Chavo playing a white guy.
it's just like, and I will say this too though. The fact that Dolph Ziggler, he's another guy who almost has 20 years of experience under his belt since being in with the company, which is for those who don't know. But 20, because I think he made his debut in 05, if I'm not mistaken, too. With I would think so.
That was 06.
06. So, like I said, almost
yeah,
close
that
to
was
20.
with Spirit Squad. That was 06. The Chavo thing was
That
late
was
06. That was like late 06. Because remember, DX put him in a box. Put, Spirit Squad in a box and sent him back to OVW. Shipped him back to OVW.
But Dolph Ziggler, I mean, I still love him. I really do. I know where he's done so much, and the fact the broadcast said, he has won 14 championships since being in the company. That's impressive for Dolph Ziggler. Even though in his really good days, he's just been nothing but a mid card. I mean,
he's more like a lower mid card now. He can still get on TV, but he loses matches quite a bit. I do like that he was a 2-time world champion. I do like that.
Yeah, I mean, he is got to get, and this is basically what I was going to say too. Dolph Ziggler is in the same boat as the Miz. Like when you're and we know that you can see Dolph Ziggler kind of showing his age a little bit. I think he was pushing somewhere in his early 40s, something like that.
He's pushing 40,
and taking on Bronson Reed. Even though Bronson Reed does pick up the win, but this is another one I feel like Dolph Ziggler knows. I mean, when he knows to put over talent, and did a really good job of it. I mean,
he's fine with that. I'm pretty sure he's fine with that. Good on you, kid. Have a long career.
And then we get to probably one of my an interesting backstage segment with Carmella, which it was very interesting. The fact that she went from. And she went back to. It looks like she went back to her old gimmick when she first came up as the Princess of Staten Island. That kind of what gives it off.
When she came back with that gimmick, I was like, "Yes, let's go."
And then she was like,
"I'm so happy about it because her like 2 other gimmicks sucked."
Yeah, and it's like, and then who do you know comes out of the corner of the screen? It is none other than Asuka. And
she kind of creeps me out. She looks at Carmella, has like a menacing. She kind of has like a kind of a smirk. Then she makes like a slow menacing smile with that green mist just oozing out of her mouth.
And it's just
creepy.
But for those who kind of not picking up the reference, look, you go back to the Royal Rumble.
Connor.
This is backstage when she was it's probably the best. And like I said, I think there was like a couple one Monday Night Raw where you see that you can see like the slow turn going back to what she was in Japan, and it really paid off, especially at the Royal Rumble. The fact that
people were thinking it's a heel turn. She's not a heel. She's not a heel. She's Kana, but she's still face.
I mean, I say just run with it and try to make her a heel. I think she could do. I don't know though. I don't think I've seen.
She was a heel in NXT. She was a heel in NXT. I think she was a heel once with the Kabuki Warriors with her and Kairi, but they didn't get over because Kairi's better as a face and a heel.
Yeah. So
that didn't get over, but as soon as they turned face, they got over. But But when she was heel with Kairi, it just didn't get over because of Kairi. Because Kairi's a better babyface.
But now I think now this is I think this should be the perfect opportunity to have a heel turn for Asuka and going back to what before,
Not really, because she's just getting to a program with a heel. Who's Carmella? She's a heel. So getting into a program with a heel isn't the perfect time to turn heel.
Or less, so they should take that into consideration. But that's here nor there.
Maybe after this feud, maybe after this feud.
That's what I was kind of thinking. But we get to probably the best main event on the card. Cody Rhodes taking on Finn Balor. Battle of the former.
Bro, give Finn Balor a chance, man. This man's a great talent to even have on your roster.
And
And I love during that promo segment earlier, I forgot to mention the callback to Bullet Club.
Yeah.
He was like, Look at you riding the coattails of me. Talking
And I
about
was like,
joining Bullet Club, which was
ooh, that's
great.
like.
Great stuff.
And even
Great
if
stuff.
you saw it on on Cody Rhodes' Instagram, like he kind of made some quotes. It's like he wants to he wants some more matches with Finn Balor. It's just like I'm before. Sign me up for that. I think these two can tear it down on a pay per view if he had the opportunity to really build that. But like I said, Raw wasn't great, but it was okay.
Honestly, it was better than Raw has been lately.
Yeah,
Because I
that is
remember
true.
like 2 weeks ago, we were ranting about Raw being dog crap.
Yeah, that was
I'm putting it bluntly. Raw was
eh,
dog crap 2 weeks ago.
it really was. But now we get to NXT. Think, but then to start off NXT for that week, I should say, following Tuesday. So you had the Creed brothers take on Indus This was kind of stemmed back the fact that this was there was some of a rivalry going between these two, but Indus picks up the win, and unfortunately, that kind of because how that came, the ending was I don't say interesting, but it stemmed to the fact that obviously when Julius went off the ropes, actually collides into Ivy Now, kind of knocks her off the
And
apron.
that's another plus too, Sleeping Angels. They actually are building towards the pay-per-view. They barely built to Royal Rumble. Barely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here they're building it up. They're actually building it up. And I'm happy with that.
And so Indus pick up the win because at the distraction, and that kind of stops that. It was a good match though between those two, but and that leads us to, and then that leads us to our next match with Zoe Starks and Indy Hartwell, because this also sent back to a backstage segment with Zoe coming into the locker room with Solo were kind of getting into Indy's face or something like that. So
Solo Ruka actually spoke. This is the first time I heard her speak. She's not bad acting. She's not bad acting. I know she was given one line, and I need to see a little bit more, but she's not a bad start. Not a bad start.
I mean, but yeah, that's if you can help building her up with the promo skills. Who's to say? She's for me, it's a dark horse favorite to win the NXT Women's Championship down the road.
Right.
But yeah, and then Zoe kind of gets in Indy's face. This kind of talk about being in the Royal Rumble that Zoe lasted longer than Indy, and Indy took storyline. Kayfabe took it personally, and that led up to this match for the on NXT. Zoe Starks pretty much just hit the crap out of her. It was very physical between the two women. But Zoe Starks picked up the win, and then then we get to a bit of a promo battle a little bit. Wesley comes out, obviously, kind of talk about it. His defense against Dijak and Vengeance Day. Then Dijak comes out, basically saying, he made a mistake of not handing the championship, and obviously, kind of how that storyline between those two. And here comes Mr. Bumbling Idiot Von Wagner with this manager, Mr. Stone, kind of talking everything, kind of just have a bit of a kerfuffle, I should say, even though that's kind of our first time I ever said a different word, but let's run with it. But Dijak, or I'm sorry, Wes said, let's just solve this injustice. Have like a number one contenders match with Von Wagner and Dijak, pretty much, and that leads us to our next match. Obviously, pretty much It was a very physical match, and it looks like Von Wagner had gotten a lot better, slightly better in the ring in terms of his moveset. But
yeah, you see signs that he's getting better. You see it.
Yeah.
I'm glad he is getting better, because early on we were thinking, he's terrible.
But seeing some of the improvements he's made, who's to say that could be another guy with the right stuff and the right tone and honing everything he's got. Who's to say?
The one thing that really bugs me about Von Wagner, for the love of God, take a promo class.
Yeah. I think that's the reason why you had Mr. Stone as his mouthpiece. I think that's why they had him paired up with him. So, but we've seen that, and we've seen that in the past, and actually worked out really well for a lot of some stars' careers in the company. If you just have a mouthpiece, but obviously Dijak picks up the win. That still leads up to NXT Vengeance Day between Wesley and Dijak for the NXT North American Championship. And then we come to a backstage segment with Axiom, who I think that dude is phenomenal in the ring. No matter who you put him against. I think it was a little bit of watching.
What makes me laugh was the promo segment backstage with him and Tyler Bate.
And that's basically what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And obviously, and then Tyler Bate comes in, kind of talking this thing, and then Mr. Damon Kemp talking all this shit.
But here's what Tyler Bate said. He goes, "You kind of remind me of A Kid," and then Axiom was like, "It's in the eyes, isn't it?" He goes, he makes
it's like what?
Okay.
And but obviously Damon Kemp called Tyler Bate a limey. For those who don't know, that is a bit of a derogatory term for a British person, and that was kind of but obviously, and Axiom doesn't know what that really means, so he basically called him pendejo, which is basically, well, you kind of get the idea. It's pretty much Spanish for an a-hole. So
it's an a-hole. Call him an a-hole.
But yeah, and that leads to their match. I think probably the best match that I've seen, and I would like to see more between Tyler Bate and Axiom. But Tyler Bate picks up the win on a very physical.
And it means a-hole or bitch. It's either one of those.
It could be two different meanings on the way how you could. But and then after Bates picks up the win, gets blindsided by Damon Kemp, and and both Axiom and Tyler Bates were not having it with Damon Kemp being kind of being kind of that guy. But and now they show, and then they cut to a backstage segment with Mackenzie Mitchell and kind of talking about who could have possibly be after the parking lot incident with Nikita Lyons, and
we all knew it was Zoe Stark. You looked at the background, she was looking at her like, yeah, I did that.
And he had Winnie Chu. For the love of God, why did you have to show Winnie Chu on the screen? But that's another story for another day.
He's in a bad gimmick. We all know how
and then
much
she sticks her head out of the car like drinking her coffee.
It's a trash gimmick.
But for some reason, now I hate it. But even though it's starting to grow on me, I hate it to the point where I'm going to have to laugh at it. But it's still, even though it's growing on me.
Wait a minute. Run that back by me. It's starting to grow on you.
A little bit, yes.
Rewind the tape. It's growing on you.
It's slightly growing on me, but I still hate it.
Gosh, man.
I mean, I've seen some worse gimmicks over the years, but at least this one's tolerable to an extent. We could all admit that. Let's be real. And that leads us to a sit-down segment, another segment with Roxanne Perez and Toxic Attraction, basically kind of talked about from last week, and probably, I mean, you can't tell me not throw a curveball at us.
It was basically, haha, we fooled you.
Exactly. And the fact that, she said, and the regards of Roxanne Perez, she basically said, what about Karma? Karma is a cold bitch. And it's like, ooh. And
Booker T's like,
yeah, and that really, and then this starts with the fact that, and this is basically leading up to Vengeance Day, be a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. I think Jacy Jayne was talking her shit, kind of like downplaying Roxanne Perez, and Roxanne Perez was not having of it. She takes off her mic, goes to finds where Toxic Attraction is, and beat the living crap out of them, and breaks down the set, and just, hey, we're not having it. Roxanne Perez was not having any of it.
Dude, she walks off like she's gonna just walk off the set, right? I think it was Jacy Jayne says something. You see Roxanne just haul right back in. She flies right back in, either punches or kicks.
I think it could be the combination of the two, but
punches or kicks Jacy in the face.
And and she started beating her down and breaks us. I was like, damn.
Blah, 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 blah. As she's still sitting there.
And then she turns her attention to Gigi and starts kicking her ass. It's like, and this is why I love Roxanne, though, man. I mean, I think they really.
She can be small, she can be adorable, but she's feisty.
She is one of those people when you really get to her, like she will show that her feisty side. But I thought it was a great segment. I really do like the storyline between Toxic Attraction and Roxanne Perez. I really do like it. And Tyler, the next match. Remember the one superstar we've been talking about that we were kind of questioning? It's like, what? So we had Danny Palmer, who was a Performance Center trainee, taking on Stevie fucking Turner.
Her gimmick, a Twitch streamer.
Which
That's her gimmick. She's a Twitch streamer.
And the way that I see it, it's just like she's trying to appeal like this generation of people that people watch YouTube and Twitch nowadays. So kind of to appease to that. And then, even though she looked pretty good in the ring in her debut, though, I'll give her that. She picks up the win, but it's just.
I mean, then again, it does make sense because there's a lot of wrestlers in WWE who do Twitch, so it makes sense.
It makes sense, and that leads us to our next match: Charlie Dempsey taking on Drew Gulak. This all stemmed back from I think the last week on NXT. I mean, William Regal, man, you've done a very good job of training your son because holy crap, I starting to love Dempsey, but unfortunately, Tyler, you're gonna be upset about this. Drew Gulak picks up a cheap win over Charlie Dempsey after
who?
Drew Gulak picks up a cheap win.
Honestly, I'm not mad about it. I never hated Drew Gulak.
It's just
I never hated him. I never even said I hated him. I never had a problem with Drew Gulak. He was one of the ones I was upset that they were screwing over on the main roster.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's getting his due in NXT.
Because and then obviously he did pick it with the win because it also stemmed the fact that he who did Hank Walker face? I think he kind of like screwed. I think it was a Hank Walker, Drew or him or Drew. I think the week before, and that's kind of led up to that. So, but for those who kind of know about me, I always call Drew Gulak Mr. 2K because I mean if you play WWE 2K22,
2K gimmick. He's got a 2K gimmick.
But
apparently, to help out the baby faces, and then the baby face got on his nerves, so he turned heel on him.
And he's surprisingly too. He's actually over at NXT. If you really think about it,
he's crazy over in NXT. The problem is the fact that Vince never liked him in the main roster. He was always over. He just Vince never liked him.
Yeah, which is crazy. And then we get to our last match on the card for NXT. We had a triple threat match for the number one to join the New Day, Gallus, and Pretty Deadly at Vengeance Day for the NXT Tag Team title. So you had the Dyad, which was Rip Jagger, that's Jagger Reed and Rip Fowler taking on Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. I'm really liking those two, and taking on Chase U, Chase Hudson or Duke Hudson, and Andre Chase. And surprisingly, Chase U gets the win.
Thea Hale's hyper ass on ringside.
But during the match too, while Malik Blade and Idris Enofe were kind of taken out of commission, Ava Raine decides to get involved and try to screw it over Chase U. Thea Hale, and I mean, it's such as we say that she's hyper as hell. She did her part, and obviously sweep the legs out from Ava Raine, and then Chase U picks up the win. Now they're going to be a part of the Fatal 4-Way match at Vengeance Day. It's just...
And it's smart to book them in that match because they're so over as a team. They're over.
Even though we originally... Exactly. And we originally thought that I thought Duke Hudson was going to split as we originally...
but he explained himself. I just walked out because of something. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I think it was like a misunderstanding or whatnot.
It was a misunderstanding, and they're fine. I feel like the turn's going to happen still.
You could see the seeds starting to grow.
They're slowly building up to it. Duke Hudson really doesn't want to be in Chase U. You can tell.
Yeah, you could definitely tell. But now we move on to our last show recap. AEW Dynamite. I thought this was a great show. I think AEW Dynamite has been very consistent. I really like how their show's been pretty good the last, 2-3 weeks up to this point, or could be wrong.
Yeah, honestly, 2-3 weeks.
It's been very consistent.
Even though last week's, not this week's, but last week's episode had being all emotional crap.
Oh, yeah. But we kicked up with Jon Moxley taking on Adam Hangman Page. I'm really taking this rivalry though.
There's one gripe that I had about the match.
What Moxley?
It was the production.
Okay.
So, and also this is on Jon Moxley too.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't trying to hide it. So they cut to Moxley. He was in the corner, and he's very clearly bleeding.
Yeah,
Very clearly. He very clearly bladed. He didn't even try to hide it.
Oh yeah.
And then you see Hangman punch him in the face once and he's bleeding. You very clearly bladed.
Saw the blade.
And it's like you could have hid your face on the turnbuckle, like you're like praying or something, but you're really bleeding.
Exactly.
Is the one and only podcast.
Let's get Travis, buddy.
How's it going, folks? Yeah, man. The one and only, brother.
Especially for all things professional wrestling. But I think overall, like I said, that was the only nitpick. Overall, I thought this was a good match in general. I think these two really know how to work with each other. And Waxy does get the win because after, he did mention that, he's never lost consecutive matches in a row. And so, yeah, he picks up the win over Adam Page, which, I actually didn't mind. Actually, I do like this rivalry between the two. And,
I love the story behind it. It was like, he was saying in that promo package, I can't lose him at home. I can't lose at home. I can't do it.
The fact he had his dad with him.
Motivated. And you have a guy who's that motivated. You can't have the guy lose. You can't. If he's that motivated in storyline.
If you look back before,
it's about wrestling. AEW.
We're doing a recap.
We're not on certain camps. We're not doing the whole team this, team that.
Like it's
we love all wrestling, man. We love all wrestling.
But I will say though, and you can see, and not this for this. If you looked at the couple Dynamites ago, you could see a bit of concern with, and you saw the real side of Adam Page, where he showed tremendous concern for Jon Moxley, and we talked. I
feel like Mox is going to be the one to turn heel, not Hangman. In this, Mox is.
Oh yeah, I think Mox does really well as a heel, if I'm not mistaken, too.
He does very well as a heel, very well, because the character is supposed to be a psychopath.
Oh yeah, old school CZ Dub. Oh, that's a whole different animal,
dude. CZW, bro, that's for psychos. That's for psychos.
Hey, think about it. Without CZ Dub, there would be no Jon Moxley. Think about
Lord.
that. But
there would not be Jon Moxley. There wouldn't be a Sami Callihan.
Or who else was in CZ Dub?
Oh, God. Joe Gacy.
Yeah, Joe Gacy.
Nick Mondo was pretty good. Nick Mondo was good, but yeah, there would be no Joe Gacy. There would be no Jon Moxley. There would be no.
I think no. Why does Nick Gage come? For me, I think Nick Gage comes to mind, but I don't think he has never been in CZW.
Nick Gage is in the knockoff GCW.
GCW.
He's in GCW.
Because for me, because he seems like the perfect fit for CZW. For some reason,
he probably did CZW back then. I'm not sure. Because he does live in the area that it's originated from.
And shout out to CZW, it's a local Delaware promotion, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
They do a lot of shows in Philly, though. A lot of shows in Philly, and some in Jersey too.
Yeah. And that's true.
There are a few which made it from CZW or AEW. And
that's basically what we're saying.
Yeah. You had Moxley. You had Moxley did both. He came to WWE as Dean Ambrose. Right out of CZW, he was the WWE.
You had Sami Callihan go to Impact.
You had Joe Gacy, who's in NXT right now.
Probably
part of the whole schism thing, which is an awesome faction.
Absolutely.
I forgot who else.
And
Callihan is an Impact.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Callihan might be a free agent after I think his contract might be up soon. So we'll see.
I feel like they're just working this like storyline, with him trying to join the design in Impact, like doing this whole story. The design.
But
which they needed to do that. They needed to put him in like the design as like this de facto leader kind of.
And I would not be opposed. I would not be opposed to that. You also have I think Eric. You have Eric Young.
EY left Impact. EY left Impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not called Violent by Design. They're just called the Design because Violent by Design was just because EY was a psycho.
Oh, right. Because I feel like if I'm not mistaken, this was like a knockoff, try to be like a ripoff of Sanity, if I'm not mistaken, too. But
It was pretty much Sanity 2.0. Daniel Bryan came from WXW. No, he was actually Ring of Honor to WWE.
But I think there's some other promotion. I
He
think
did wrestle on WXW. Yeah, he did, but he was more
mostly
so
Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he was on Ring of Honor.
But going further on the card, we have the Acclaim take on the Outrunners, which is pretty much the jobber team. Obviously, the Acclaim picks up the win. I gotta say, man, at times,
Everybody loves the Acclaim.
and we get the Guns coming out, and wow,
Dude,
I mean,
they low blowed the crap.
that was
and their father.
like drown your sorrows in a pill bottle.
Why don't you drown your sorrows again in a pill bottle like you did in the old days?
And that,
oh my god.
I mean, we see some two low blows in two different promos. We saw it from the Guns, we saw it from Bailey, and from WWE. We've seen two low blows.
The Guns was way worse.
Way worse. Well, I kind of
Bailey's low blow kind of weak.
Yeah. But when I listened to that, I kind of cringed at it for not just for it's not cringeworthy, but
like really,
that's.
I'm like, why AEW would you do that? Why would you write them to say that to their dad?
Even though I guess there might be a story that he might have battled addiction. We don't know exactly for sure what but we'll see. But
he might have okayed it, which would have made it slightly better, but still
that's kind of taking a bit of a shot at your dark past, but we'll move on from that. But and that set up the upcoming tag team match this coming Wednesday on Dynamite between the Acclaimed and the Guns. And that is true, Travel Buddy. Some of the storytelling.
Yeah, the storytelling with every company is kind of like weak now.
Except for
back then. Yeah, I get it. Wrestling's not as edgy as it was.
Yeah, I mean,
there's been some moments where it's like, oh boy, I don't know how I was able to watch that as a kid, but like now it's not as edgy, so you can't do a lot. So the storytelling, you can't do so much with it. You can only do so much. That's why it's weaker.
But I mean, there's been some interesting storylines that we've seen, when marinated correctly, we've seen some really good results out of it. I mean, perfect example of the Royal Rumble, the Bloodline story. It took 1 year to let that marinate for about a year. We finally saw what we thought. It's just, but yeah, well, it's society nowadays, they take a lot of things, some stuff a little bit differently nowadays, but
society is more of is more politically correct, so you can't do a lot with how you did back in the day. Because a lot of stuff they did back in the day, it would offend people. So you can't do that. Which I get that. That's perfectly fine. But the storytelling should be still better.
Yeah.
In a sense.
I agree.
Doesn't matter 100%. If you're PG, doesn't matter if you're still TV-14, you're doing just so much walking on eggshells because you don't want to offend people, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the storytelling should just be a little bit better.
I agree.
Be fine. Because the Bloodline story was a key factor. They did a tremendous story with that.
Yeah, and they had some twists and turns thrown into the storylines. It's like, are we going to? And we've seen some foreshadowing, some moments where they kind of foreshadowed what is Sammy going to get kicked out, or is he going to keep him around? I mean, yeah, but we'll move on from that. But the next thing we have on our
I get that. But here's the thing: even if it's a game or if it's just a TV show, a lot of stuff can't be done in poor taste.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and WWE, even though it's scripted,
they have done some
stuff.
Live
show. It's still a live show.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really do a lot with that.
I mean, not like what you did, but like I said, we'll move on from that. But then we cut to Jungle Boy with the backstage segments with who are it's not Alex, it's with Alex Marvez. Kind of talking about especially some of his success with with Hook. being as a tag team. But and in some words, he's like, I've been to the tag team title mountain before, and obviously a bit of a reference to when they were as Lucha. Was it Lucha Spread or what was the tag with Luchasaurus? That was been one of a bit of a reference, but he says, I got kicked down the mountain, but tag team may not be my thing, but he's looking forward to have more success as a single star. Is basically what he how I'm paraphrasing his promo, which it's interesting. I won't say it's interesting, but I'm all for Jungle Boy to be not say. I think he's actually doing well as a tag team, but I think you could do much more with Jungle Boy as a single star. Because the dude's got star written all over him. Maybe let's keep it a buck here. But
yeah,
next match on the card, we have Konosuke Takeshita. No, not the how MJ
Takeshita.
God damn it, MJF.
That was funny.
Oh my god. It's like, as much as I hate MJF, but you just cannot help but to laugh at some of the shit that he says. It's
Takeshita. Who the heck is Takeshita?
But yeah, this taking on Brian Cage. Really, really good match, for Brian Cage putting on, even though his contract's going to be up. But Konosuke Takeshita is actually how they pronounce it. But he picks up the win over Brian Cage. But yeah. Oh yeah, and Travel Boy, this is our guest, Lady Kenzie, another fellow wrestling fan as well. Because like I said, because we have a lot of stuff to cover tonight as well. But
got a lot to cover, man. Got a lot to cover.
There's been interesting stories surrounding in the wrestling world. But next segment we got is Chris Jericho on the JAS. So kind of with their bit of a beef with Ricky Starks, and all that stuff. Which I'm okay. But yeah, then we're going to have to see a bit of a gauntlet for Ricky Starks to have another opportunity to get a Chris Jericho's. Trying to think, because you have to deal with 2.0. He's got to fight them one-on-one. Then it gets through either Garcia or Guevara, and after that, if he makes it through, then we'll face Chris Jericho.
Right.
Then we get probably the best match that I've seen so far from Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson taking on Timothy Thatcher, of all people, to make their 80. If you not watched Timothy Thatcher wrestle, what are you doing?
I'm telling you right now. He's a really good technical wrestler. He can even punch you in the face if he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
But tremendous match. It finishes very technically with a finish like that.
But yeah, Bryan Danielson picks up the win though. It was very even. Despite the fact Bryan Danielson was coming into this matchup dealing with a bit of a sore shoulder after
and you saw it during the match that Timothy Thatcher was working that shoulder.
Especially when see I've seen matches when he looks at that Fujiwara armbar, yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if I'm not, God, why did I feel like no, that was I don't know why I have Imperium on the top of my head, but that was Alexander Wolf who I'm thinking of. But yeah, so Bryanson gets the win, and we get to the first women's match on the card. Oh, good Lord, why does Jade Cargill even exist at this point?
Here's the problem. Jade Cargill is really good, but her reign has just gotten crazy stale. AEW is ignoring fans, saying drop the title, drop the title, drop the title, and just to get her to 50-0.
And yeah, and that's exactly what happened over her win over Red Velvet, who had issues with her. Obviously kind of split away from that. But with who's the other baddie? I can't think of her goddamn name at the moment. What the hell is her name? She kind of got involved, and then Kiera Hogan, who also had issues with Jade Cargill, kind of got involved to try, and unfortunately cost Red Velvet, who had her pinned for a 3 count, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So Jade Cargill is now 50-0 in her AEW career. Wasn't bad, but Jade Cargill is not what we really needed. This is the way that I see it. But then we get to the main event, who I thought, let's be real, I think probably the best main event so far AEW has put on. Darby Allin, Samoa Joe, no holds barred.
Yeah.
Holy crap! The finish to that.
Oh my god, man. Whew.
Darby Allin makes my body hurt just watching him taking all the bumps that he does. Like,
let's just do a drop where I'm blindly jumping at you from backwards.
But
why? Why do you do that? Why are you jumping backwards? Not even looking.
That, and you also have a thumbtack hoodie at the same time. But
respect to that, man. Respect.
Absolutely, huge respect. But
here's the thing that I don't get. I hope the guy. I missed the match. I hope the guy doing another apron spot where he's doing a coffin drop and he hits his back on the apron. I hope that didn't happen.
No, because part of that match he did expose the boards underneath the. He took all the padding, removed the part of the canvas, exposed the wood boards under the padding. It's like, oh, here we go. And we also had an avalanche, and then the finish was an avalanche muscle buster. 1, 2, 3. Samoa Joe picks up the win. I was like, oh.
So you mean to tell me Darby Allin only had a week reign?
Yeah, because it was like this was the final chapter of the rivalry.
A damn week.
So yeah, it was ugly to say the least. But for me, that pretty much ended off AEW. Oh, actually, before AEW Dynamite went off the air, Wardlow comes back. This is with a different look.
Yeah,
and he started whipping it. Hey, we talk about whipping ass, dude. He was whipping Samoa Joe's ass afterwards,
bro. He did that before he left because. He was whipping. He was putting a whooping on him.
Yeah,
before he got hurt or was left or something.
And there's been some, and we'll talk about more about Samoa Joe because I've actually read something. This is before, but with that being said, out of the recaps, now we get into the nitty gritty of the show.
Damn right, travel buddy. Damn right.
Absolutely, we're all human beings. That's all it is. But the first thing on tap, there's another lawsuit with WWE have. So another law firm's going after.
Oh, why am I not shocked?
So WWE is getting investigated by another law firm on behalf of the shareholders. That's kind of self-explanatory, but it's because
Vince is trying to weasel his way back. The shareholders are not liking it.
Oh, we'll get to it. There's another one too.
And I knew this was going to happen. I knew there's going to be a firestorm with these shareholders wanting to sue Vince for trying to get back to the company.
And speaking with Vince and WWE, they got another lawsuit on quote-unquote horrifying allegations. Oh boy! And this was 11 hours ago by Andrew Ravens of WrestlingNews.co. Says quote or titles. Vince McMahon.
No, we don't do Impact. I'm sorry, but I have the station for it. So
Impact hasn't really been good in quite some time.
It hasn't really been that great lately. So,
and this is part of one of the other lawsuits. This is a different lawsuit that the company is facing. So Andrew Ryan or Ravens actually quotes or writes this as WWE is facing another lawsuit from a shareholder who brought a suit against them because of quote unquote horrifying allegations made against McMahon. According to court documents obtained by Bloomberg, Dennis Palkin filed a lawsuit against WWE in Delaware's Chancery Court, where Palkin looks to ban McMahon from the company's board of directors. Yada yada yada. Also wants to gain access to internal WWE files to investigate allegations that McMahon, quote unquote, oh good lord, the 4-letter R word and S8 employees and contractors over the course of decades, end quote, to only pay the accusers to cover up the allegations.
So you mean to tell me
there's more coming out of here?
Get rid of Vince. Vince, go somewhere.
Exactly.
When are you back in the company?
It's like
if you're doing this to women,
get
out of public. Get out of public. Rot in your own home. Rot in prison.
And this is a lot of times we don't blame Stephanie McMahon for leaving because of this shit. It's oh my god.
Stephanie McMahon, I'm sorry that this happened to you, that you left the company, and I'm sorry that piece of crap is your dad.
Or whoever was employed by under Vince McMahon and at the time.
I'm sorry, Stephanie McMahon. That piece of crap is your dad. Doing what he's doing to women? Come on.
But it's just this is nuts. Like we thought,
he's got a year. He's literally got a booklet worth of this crap. It's like up to here at this point.
But that's the thing too, Trout. But yeah. So that's kind of
He should be in prison like a normal human being, but he's not. You know where he is? He's in the dang WWE again.
Yeah.
Again.
You know, paid all. Let's be real. Try to pay for a blind eye, like no one really cares. Knowing that, and you know, I'm gonna get the shareholders, especially this one. Like I said, Dennis Palkin. Kudos to you, man.
I hope the shareholders scalp him for every dime, every single dime that he has.
Because this is ridiculous. We thought
this is not okay.
We thought the hush money was we thought that was already done, but no, we come to find out.
But here's the thing. You know those women that he paid hush money to?
Mm-hmm.
He sexually assaulted them too.
Yeah,
and I'm saying
it's just like when is it? The dude, like we all said, the dude's out of touch. You already know that. You already. I mean, look, I think Linda's, and you know,
Linda. I'm glad she doesn't want nothing to do with him.
And I can imagine how Shane feels though. But then again, we've seen at times Shane does not. We've seen times where Shane flat out does not like his dad, his father, and you know that
he tried to be a rebel against his dad 2 Rumbles ago, and it got him fired.
Exactly,
it got him fired.
And you know that this also stems to the fact that you also had Triple H, and this is another thing too that's been kind of going on too. Him and Vince McMahon do not like each other. I think that's been kind of well documented over the time.
This is what happened to. This is what happened, right? This is why Stephanie left. Her and her dad got into a huge fight, and Triple H even got into the middle of it against Vince over this bullcrap.
Because
I completely side with Stephanie and Triple H in this whole ordeal. His ass should be in jail. He should be in prison.
Think of the amount of different scandals that Vince McMahon has been under. The steroid scandal, the Owen Hart bullshit. You know, I mean, there's been so many other scandals.
Distribution of drugs, potential murder.
Like, it's like the dude got the fact that it's fucking ridiculous, man. But oh, good Lord. But moving on, there's another story that I actually looked at that a top star was in talks with AEW. And that star in particular is Kota Ibushi. And it's in talks with All Elite Wrestling.
Well, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't
mind it either. I think
because the only taste of American wrestling for him was WWE in that Cruiserweight Classic Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah,
2016. That was his only taste. And I would think that he didn't mind it. So, but if he wants to go to AEW, he can come to AEW. He can work AEW shows.
Imagine. I mean, the dude is great in the. Now the only even though at
also,
times
if you're gonna bring, he I don't know if they're introverted or not, but they've been very, very, very quiet.
Yeah.
You can chime in. You can chime in.
You can chime in. Absolutely.
We've been talking our ears off. You can chime in. If you
but
yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you guys and stuff. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. We're
Nah, you're
always,
fine. You're fine. You can do whatever you
I mean,
want.
if you have any idea, like any thoughts you want to chirp in, go ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't be
No
shy.
one's gonna eat you. I agree with Travel Buddies. No one's gonna eat you.
Wait. Yeah, but
We're not.
yeah.
We're not. We're
So
not. We're not zombies here. We're great
well,
people.
but like I said, Kota Ibushi. I couldn't imagine how Kenny Omega. Could you imagine just the surprise look Kenny Omega might see his former tag partner
Dude,
come into
Bring back the golden.
the
What's
Golden
that
Lovers.
team? The Golden Lovers. Bring back the Golden Lovers, man.
That was a great. Now the thing with Ibushi though, there's a bit of a downside to him. He's always been kind of, I want to say, injury prone. But he was still, I think, because his contract did come up. Yes, this came out yesterday that his contract did run up with New Japan yesterday. So, but he is in contract talks with All Elite Wrestling. At the same time, but we'll see.
Yeah, at least we got a smile out of them. So
Yeah, damn.
got a smile out of you. That's fine.
But
you're good. You got a smile.
But
At
more
least.
WWE news, but this is some interesting news that, like I said, like I mentioned in the recap, Cody Rhodes addresses on bringing back the Winged Eagle title belt to the company.
I hope he wins. I hope he wins at Mania, and I hope he brings back that title. Because this big W is not working for me.
It's like
pepperoni or ham and pineapple.
Ham and pineapple, please. But
talk about
but
pizza
yeah,
over
that
there.
whole big W thing is not working.
It's bland. I think it's
Give
run
me a
course.
design that's eye-catching. Like the U.S. title, I don't mind it because eye-catching.
At least even though I'll say this too, with the United States title, yes, I mean the old design, yes, I know it had its run, and yeah, and I get it too.
My mom was back. She was asking me what kind of pizza I wanted. She was like, "Go ahead," and I was talking. I stopped me like she opened the door. I was like,
hell yeah,
yeah. Mom makes cameos from time to time. Yesterday, she was a guest star.
But
in our NSC Championship stream, she was a guest star.
Yep.
So.
But Lady Kenzie, give me your thoughts on that. If you want to chirp in on Cody Rhodes addressing on bringing back the Winged Eagle title, kind of get your thoughts on that.
I think it'd be awesome to bring it back.
Yeah.
It's just like
he learned something from the NSC Championship game.
Hawaiian pizza. Like, don't sleep on Hawaiian.
Dude, I'm telling you, you were putting over Hawaiian pizza that entire stream.
For me, I've
Hawaiian
always
pizza's the best. I
mean, pineapple. I love pineapple on pizza. I don't care what anybody goddamn says, but that's kind of irrelevant. But
me too, man. So Philly's mutual.
But yeah, like going back, kind of going and talking about this. I mean, it's crazy. Look at the 6 years going over. Look at the Cody Rhodes now than he did with 6 years ago.
Oh, she got it wrong. It wasn't him and pineapple. It was bacon and pineapple.
Oh, that's even better too.
That's even better. Yep. Oh, I can smell that pineapple right now. You can tell that pineapple is gonna be good.
Absolutely, but going and it's crazy too. Looking at Cody Rhodes now, so for in 6 years, the fact the amount of time.
Here's the thing: he's getting the Drew McIntyre treatment. Not a great first run. He leaves for like 6 years, becomes a star, comes back. He's a star.
It's like I'll say this too. I'll give a shout out to Cody Rhodes. The fact that he pulled a Shattered Dreams at the Royal Rumble, that was great. Oh man, knowing that his brother's going to retire, I mean, bro, yeah, I love it.
You know what I yelled when he did that? I was like, field goal.
Oh man. Even though
I always say field goal, even when Goldust did it back then. I'm like, field goal.
And it's crazy too, though. Like, not just that, the fact he also made some, mocking, the Stardust giving to in some matches he's done. It's like,
dude, I remember when he did that and Seth started dying at Mania.
The fact that It's just like that Seth is probably looking at himself like, how much this dude has changed in the last 6 years. Look, look, we know that the art of kayfabe is pretty much dead, and I know there's some that still keep it alive, but
kayfabe's pretty much anymore. Like
knowing Seth though,
there's maybe like one or two people that keep kayfabe.
Exactly.
By the way, technically, Cody never won the Rumble because Ray didn't enter. And then he did jump over the top rope, so he didn't win.
So yes and no.
Yes and no. It's a joke. It's a joke.
But I think the reason
the joke.
I know I know that. But what I was going to say is, but there's a rule in the Royal Rumble. If you don't show up to your music, that is a rule. You all be automatically disqualified. So either way, it's still. I think from what I've understood,
it takes an X amount of time. But if you don't show up, you're out of the match.
And then we come to find out after the show that Rey Mysterio had legitimately suffered an injury.
He had an injury that previously happened a few days before on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So that was a way to take him off. But if you're gonna do that, why couldn't you just replace him with a 30th person?
Exactly. That's what we're saying. Like we should have expected someone in Ray's spot.
Yeah, if you knew that this guy was hurt since SmackDown, you could have had a replacement, like a surprise or a last minute surprise, or somebody from the main roster you don't use. Just
exactly.
Put him in the match.
At least give him a chance. The fact, and I'll say this too, though, man. Even the men's Royal Rumble, like I said, wasn't the greatest in terms of what you had. But it surprised him. It was actually really it was entertaining for what it was for the men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Now, seeing the Spinning Rudy again after all this time for Booker T.
Mia was like, and we were like, he does a Spinning Rudy slower. Somebody said he does a Spinning Rudy slower than he ever did before. I'm like, yeah, because he's old.
But I think but I will say this too, though. Yeah, he did look rusty as hell. Because think about it, he's been behind the commentary.
He's old, and he hasn't wrestled since 2011?
I think 2011. I think you also had at the time, you still had Diesel come back at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Which I think
Booker had that mini run where he was in the Intercontinental title picture with Cody in 2011.
Yeah.
He had that mini run.
Like I said, go back to what we said about Cody, though. It's crazy to look at the timeline ever since then. Being probably, let's be real. Even though it ditched not the oval shaped IC title, I actually really didn't mind. I actually really liked that design at the time. But the fact that he brought out the old school, this is why a lot of times too, and you saw it too.
And then they changed it in 2019 to this bland circle title,
like whatever this BS.
It was bland. It looks bland. It looks boring.
And after he won the Rumble, says you could read his lips as "Dad, I did." And I was like, "Damn, that's gotta." Oh man, that kind of hurt me a little bit because it's like if Dustin. Let's just think. If Dustin,
Dude, if he wins the title and he pays tribute to his dad, I'm gonna ball.
Dude, that's gonna. Exactly.
But it was boring that he entered at number 30 and won, especially against the first entrant.
Yeah. People were that's a bit of a nitpick for a lot of people. Like,
you want to know why it was so boring? What's
that?
Hey, bro,
because they legitimately didn't make a surprise. It was not a surprise.
Yep.
If they would have just not said anything for weeks, throw him up. Oh, I'm returning at the Rumble.
And
none of that would have been boring. You'd have been surprised. You'd have been shocked.
A lot better.
But the problem was, it was boring because they announced that he was going to be there in the match.
Yeah, but I mean, either way though, but yeah. So, and there was other things too. It's like, before we go any further, I wanted to say rest in peace to the younger brother, the genius Lanny Poffo.
Yeah. The younger brother of Macho Man.
The late great Macho.
I hold it.
Yeah.
He died today.
68.
I was
on
back posted a picture of it. I'm like, who's that? I'm like,
yeah, I think people didn't really tend to forget. Like people don't know that he
Yeah, I'm
was.
like, who is that? I'm like, oh, it's that guy who always wore a robe in the 90s. Like
But
graduation robe in the 90s.
Well, yeah. So So all we heard about is through the great hacks on Jim Duggan, and he tweeted out with a very quote with a very heavy heart. I've been asked to let everyone know about the passing of our friend and colleague Lanny Poffo, the genius. R.I.P. Lanny. It's just damn. The wrestling
Yeah.
world when it comes to like the former stars just passing away has not been the greatest.
No.
It's just and we did get
What happened?
so we did get some breaking news through Nick Khan. This was about 30 minutes ago. So Paul Davis actually put this out on Wrestling News, WrestlingNews.co title. Vince McMahon is willing to step down from WWE if buyer is not interested in keeping him, per Nick Khan. Even if you know how Nick Khan, probably Nick Khan's probably sick of his shit.
That's if the buyer isn't interested in keeping him.
That's the key word. That's if.
If. Because for a fact Vince ain't gonna want to step down until he's dead.
I hope he does step down.
And it's disturbing. It's disgusting. I agree. It's disgusting.
It
is disgusting. Keep this guy around like this after what he's done.
It's just not great. But
I'm putting the booking decisions aside. Yeah, he was a bad booker lately. Yeah, he should have stepped down sooner because of that. But booking aside, he still should step down because of what he did to the women.
Exactly. Not just the women, but just
these women. Paying hush money because he sexually assaulted them while you were a married man. And even if you weren't a married man, sexual assault isn't good. It's not good. You should be in prison, Vince.
But like we said, money can change people. It never. But going further, we talked about this once before, but this actually came up not that long ago. This was actually earlier today. But this was about earlier in the afternoon. But Shawn Michaels did reveal.
He knows, Travel Buddy. He just doesn't care.
Yeah,
he knows. He just does not care.
He wants because he doesn't like success. The company say if I'm going to find, basically, in other words, it's like if this company's going to die, I'm going to bring it down with me. Basically, it's basically what's going to happen. Now, do I think that WWE is going to die? Absolutely not. I think they've made so much money over the years. They got you're like over a $5 billion company, but yet we don't want to get more into that because that's just been like bad negative light around the company. But speaking of going further with WWE, this was kind of, like I said, early in the afternoon when this was published. According from Ringside News, that said Shawn Michaels revealed that he did not fire Mandy Rose from NXT, and we know exactly kind of a bit of a short summary for those who don't remember the backlash of it. And then obviously Mandy Rose came out and spoke. It says she complied to the guidelines of WWE. She didn't, she said she followed the rules and stuff like that. And stuff like that. It was kind of like I don't know. You say like a misfiring, but so Shawn Michaels basically talked about saying, quote, obviously it's not the ideal situation. I will say if I'm allowed to say for the record, I didn't fire her. I can't fire anybody. The only thing correct about any of that I was handled creative. It was unfortunate. I think Mandy was fantastic for us. I absolutely enjoyed working with her. She was a phenomenal champion. We would have loved things to be done differently and be able to build a story around Roxanne Perez. But I was put in a position where I was made to make a call creatively. So he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it goes to say, what I've learned about doing this job, nothing comes before the brain, and we have to put those things forward, and that's what we did. Roxanne was certainly what we were going to go to, regardless of the situation. But we had to cut a few weeks earlier than we expected to. The great thing is we're back on course, and I will say, I think of the world of Mandy Rose. She was nothing but phenomenal with us, and we'll miss her. So, Tyra, thoughts on that?
Listen,
So he'll be missed.
yeah, she'll be missed for one, but for two. Of course he wasn't the guy that fired her. Like people were saying that he was, because he's an on-screen boss. He's on screen. He's not the real boss. It was Stephanie and Nick Khan at the time. And Stephanie does not like that, the sexualization of what Mandy was
women.
doing, of the women. She didn't like that. So she said, you're either gonna get rid of the account or you're fired. And Mandy said no, so she got let go. And they're taking her out. I don't know. I think they're taking her out. That's what I've heard, but
we'll see what the time
but then again, 2K is notorious for being outdated anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Exactly, but
because honestly, like I said before, listen, I don't care what Mandy Rose does. I really don't. But it's the fact that you're working for a PG company, PG umbrella, and you're doing TVMA shit.
Like this stuff,
That's not good.
I'll say this was stuff would have flown back through in the early 2000s. She could have, if she were like wrestled in the Ruthless Aggression Attitude Era. Well, actually, no, the Attitude Era. This was like the early days of technology. So I would say probably the Ruthless Aggression Era would make more sense. Would definitely people would not raise two fusses about. But in the end, like we said, that's all in the past. Though we wish nothing but the best for her. But then we're going to talk to Batista. Batista's been kind of in the news, but in a very positive manner too. But Batista, he praises Triple H for helping being quote unquote responsible for his career. I think it was 2000 was it 2006 where they had with him and Batista had a feud together, and that kind of really
05.
And that's really and that kind of role start because without that feud, Batista would have been a nobody. It would be even completely think about that, which is crazy to think about in 2005. And if you looked at the 2000s, Triple H was notorious for backstage politicking. The dude refused to put over talent, and I think I don't know exactly how the story went, but I think he was told by upper management, it's like if you don't put over, I think you. But I could be wrong. I could be reading this wrong, but. When I remember though that the fact that he put over Batista, that changed the course of, I would say, probably for the Animal. It's like
he wouldn't be.
Well, what was that?
I said he wouldn't be in movies.
Exactly, or the fact of the matter is, or be an Evolution. Think about it, that was probably the best faction that really was he part no. Yeah, he wasn't Evolution. Why? My brain's not.
Batista?
Yeah,
of course he was.
I don't know why do I keep forgetting about that for some reason. I've always said, but that's besides the point. But yeah, so Batista praised his mentor for helping him become what he is now. Throughout his WWE tenure. Now, like we did mention about Samoa Joe in AEW, but there's been a story that was actually published earlier this afternoon. Talked about Samoa Joe did consider retirement from pro wrestling before he joined AEW. And basically, it went on to say that Joe said, he did consider, especially coming after when he suffered that concussion, and he's kind of being like that broadcaster. Like he thought about retiring before he joined AEW, and I mean, could have been AEW could have been a lot different though if you really think about it. I mean, I think Samoa Joe's doing. Having two belts not a typical thing, but I think he's done really well since going to AEW. I think they're doing the thing very well. Speaking with AEW, there's been a lot of news and rumor. This actually has been a report actually that AEW is considering launching their own streaming service. So, because I think Tyler, remember we talked about this before. Like we thought it was like this is not going to go through, but apparently that they might go through with it. And think about this too.
Here's the problem I have with this.
yeah, there's going to be some problems with it.
Here's the problem I have with it, though. They don't have enough to build a library with. They got, what, 3 years of worth of stuff, 4 years worth of stuff? That's it.
Yeah. And
Yeah, you can add stuff to it, certainly, but they only have X amount of stuff.
And yeah, this is actually coming from Andrew Ravens, who actually did write about this. This is basically with none other than Warner Brothers Discovery. And for those who have seen our show the last couple of episodes, oh boy, you know how we kind of feel on Warner Brothers Discovery, for that matter. And obviously for for a very specific reason. Look at Danny finally he's shown their hypocrisy better than anybody. If you were thinking about it in terms of the biggest company, not the biggest media company, but the fact that, this all stemmed the fact that, well, and Tyler ran about this too in the last episode that we did, in particular of what happened to Jay Briscoe. So God rest Jay Briscoe. And the fact that they give Mark Briscoe the green light to wrestle on AEW Dynamite, it's just like, oh man, Tyler went off.
I went off on him because it was hypocritical. Hypocritical. That it took you till a man dies for his tag team, or in this case, his brother, to be on AEW. It took for a man to die for that to happen.
But it does go to say, but the streaming service is going to be. Just think about it too. Like you could put Ring of, because like who wants to pay for Honor Club? You could put Ring of Honor on there and their pay-per-views and stuff like that, where you. Because think about it, you your own because you have a pay-per-views on Bleacher Report, you can put that on the streaming site. You got it. Some other stuff to do, but that's just. But like I said, that Tyra mentioned.
I feel like what they need to do is just put it on HBO Max and be done with it.
Exactly. If I'm not mistaken, too, that's a Warner Brothers or Warner thing. If I'm not mistaken, no,
it's a Warner-owned app. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't hurt.
HBO is owned by Warner.
Yep, I forgot about that. But so we got 3 more things we got to talk about, and we're going to wrap it up. One in particular, like I mentioned before, about some of the stars that led in merch sales, and that's Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Sami Zayn are leading the company in strong merch sales after the Royal Rumble. And if you looked at Sami Zayn's new shirt that came out, with it like tape with Sami Zayn, because people were kind of speculating, say, could that be a bit of a hint that he might be teaming with KO? Because if you looked at his new shirt that dropped after his turn after he turned on the Bloodline. So I don't know if you saw that.
And that's it's AEW. AEW is.
Yeah. Because Ring of Honor, you got Honor Club. I think it was like $5.99 a month or something like that. You also have if you want New Japan content, you had to go to New Japan World. Yeah,
that was like $10.
It's basically almost the same price as you're getting Peacock, $9.99 a month. So basically, you're paying the same as much as you're getting Peacock. So either way, New Japan. What was that?
I will pay for that if they make one.
Okay, that's respectable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean Cody Rhodes, I thought that didn't really make sense. But Sami Zayn, though, for me, I've always thought Sami Zayn would be the guy to really have a strong merch sale, because the dude is just too loved. I mean, we call it a girl. The Bray Wyatt, though, was an interesting one, though. After, let's be real, of a subpar match that he put on with LA Knight. But, you had 4 of your top guys, 3 actually, or actually 2, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, but you have other 2. So you have 4 guys actually helping, let's be real, making that company more money with the merch sales as it is. But I actually really like that. I gotta get myself a new shirt, though. I'm kind of outdated my shirts.
I just got a new shirt, so I'm done with getting merch for right now. So,
but 2 more things. NWA has been kind of in the news. Not in the way that you might think. With Camille making a statement. So Camille this was actually 8 hours ago earlier as well. So Camille talks importance of the NWA and having creative control. So basically, she goes on to say, quote, NWA to me, it means just like freedom. We had a lot of people come in from other promotions or just the indies. And I feel like the NWA, the way Billy runs it, you just have the ability to kind of explore yourself, explore where you want to go with your character. How do you want to talk in your promos? I mean, he just gives all the wrestlers so much freedom to find themselves. I think that's the most important thing for me. And also, so that's her statement on the importance of NWA. But having creative control, she goes on to say, quote, because, while in other companies, if you have no ideas at all, it's nice to be told what to do. And I think a lot of wrestlers, for the most part, are very creative people. And so to be able to have the freedom and creativity is what it means to me about being part of the NWA. So that's her end quote from for Camille.
Okay, so it's just standard putting over NWA stuff. All right.
Something like that, yeah. And that was for the women's wrestling talk. So that's she made her statement on that. I mean, she's not wrong though with the creative freedom though. I mean, it's just, I mean, she could be do and stuff like that as well. And the last and final thing, Dave Bautista actually makes us talks about Triple H's Triple H's creative takeover. And basically goes on to say, yeah, I think it's best for the company. And, I mean, going back to what I said with Batista, praise his mentor for, really making, let's be real. And, I know Batista, not saying like, not, probably the as actor, but he spoke to a comic book. I know some websites like comic book has a hard time to, you got to take a grain of salt sometimes, but he goes on to say, make a statement, says, quote, I think this is the best thing for the company. It really is. It's a personal thing with me because I know Triple H. I know how well he does this business. I know how much he loves his business as far as this business goes. He's the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. And he made me who I was. He was responsible for my career. And I've never been ashamed to say that. So, thoughts on that? On Batista's statement on Triple H's creative takeover?
I 1,000,000,000% agree with that, for sure.
Me too.
He knows the business very well. He loves the business very well. He loves the fans very well. To give them quality content every week. Does he miss a few times? Yes, he does miss a few times, but it was more so hit and miss at the time. So Absolutely. It's like he loves it enough to like, all right, I'm gonna give you good content. And if I don't, he usually says, I'm sorry, I messed up. Let me do this. Like that cage match that was supposed to be at Raw 30. That's happening next week. He was more so saying, I'm sorry. I ruined what was supposed to be a good moment for you guys having this match. Wanted to see the match. Really wanted to see that match. Didn't happen. So we're gonna put it on TV so you finally get the match 2 weeks later.
So with that being said, like I said, this week we had some of interesting stories and some recaps and stuff like that. But with that being said, I appreciate Lady Kenzie coming on. But Lady Kenzie, before we head up out here, tell the people where they can find you.
You can in Twitter, Lady Kenzie.
But yeah, I mean, check out Lady Kenzie as well. Very phenomenal guest to have on as well. And yeah, I mean, and I get it too as well because it was kind of fun though. God, almost another 2-hour show. But that being said, we're gonna get up out of here though. It was actually nice having Lady Kenzie on. If you guys if any other pro wrestling fans want to hit us up to be a guest, let me know or let me and Tyler know, and we'll set something up. And with that being said, this is episode 37 of the It's Running Podcast.
And hold on before it is as easy as just going in the comments saying I want to be on, or just texting us I want to be on.
Exactly.
We're glad you put you on.
Hey, not a problem, Travel Buddy. Like I said, we'll try to put on the best show as possible as well. But with that being said, though, we're going to wrap it up here. And me, Tyler, and Linda Kenzie, we'll appreciate everybody tuning in. And we are Out.
Peace.